action! Into the Storm is a story about power and perception and what it truly means to be wicked.
She's got so many layers.
You can only push somebody so far before they show you what they're made of.
You have to know who this character is on arrival.
Well, I think The Witch of the West scared so many children, and I think we are sort of drawn to what scares us the most.
This is our way of celebrating this fantastic character. When we first started talking about the initial concept for Into the Storm, what we do for all of the evolution videos is we try to come up with a narrative, a song that speaks for all of them.
That didn't prove to be possible for this one because there are different versions of the characters that have opposing points of view. For instance, the Wicked Witch of the West is unquestionably an evil character.
And Elphaba is really the only one that we get to see in her story have that internal struggle between what she should do and what she feels is the right thing to do, and what those decisions ultimately cost her.
There's a reason that she's as passionate as she is and feels the way that she feels and feels very misunderstood. I always equated that to extreme passion, not anger.
For the video element of this project, we thought it would be interesting to visit Elphaba toward the end of Act 2 when she is at the height of her emotions.
Everybody's turning against her.
We really wanted to dive into that moment and what does that sound like for somebody who's really at war with themselves. And we thought that was an interesting place to start. So as writers and composers, the feeling of something is really where we start every project.
We knew musically we wanted to represent weather as well.
We started with an arpeggio, which really gives you this sense of swirling and repetition in something that is advancing and advancing toward you.
And it starts out small with a singular instrument, and it keeps building one instrument at a time.
And by the end, the entire orchestra is playing that arpeggio, which really gives you the sense that it started out very small in the distance, and by the end, it's just consuming you with sound.
We also use orchestra hits specifically placed to give you that sense of lightning and thunder.
Wind can be very chaotic, but it can also be very graceful.
So while you have this arpeggio that's coming at you and it's getting more and more aggressive, while at the same time you have this other element of strings that come in that's playing this long, legato, beautiful melody.
That once again is in contrast to this aggressive arpeggio that's playing and coming at you the whole time.
We spent a lot of time trying to come up with the rhythm section for this song. We ultimately decided to go with war drums. Really, because we thought it emphasized her struggle.
And the war that is going on within her.
We both obviously love musicals.
But one of the things we noticed when we first started writing together is that we both really love pop music too.
So we tend to structure our songs, whether they're musical theater or not, in a very pop way. One of the things that makes pop music so satisfying to listen to is that the chords go right where your ears naturally want those chords to go, which is why it's so satisfying to listen to.
We really try to create the sensation that after you hear the chorus the first time, you're looking forward to hearing it again and again. We knew for this project we wanted somebody who had played the part before.
Hi everybody, I'm Jessica Vosk. You probably know that I was Elphaba in the 15th anniversary of Wicked on Broadway.
I happened to be in New York when Jessica was playing Elphaba for the 15th anniversary of Wicked. I got to intermission and I was so blown away by her in this role that I got on my phone and I bought tickets for the next night because I knew that I had to see her do it again.
Into the Storm for me was the first time that it wasn't Wicked specific, Wicked related, other than that it's just a character, right? And I thought, I really did think that that story, like I had taken the chapter, I had said, see you later, girl. But interestingly enough, I always tell students, like, do the shit that's gonna scare you, or do the shit that's hard and feels like you're dipping your feet into very, very cold water, and somehow you will find your way and settle.
When Jessica became involved with the project, that's when we knew we had something really special.
I also think the song is fierce, and it was cathartic.
It's every creator, director, writer's dream to work with somebody like Jessica that takes the words on the paper or the direction and elevates it.
We knew we needed to build the set because we needed full control over the environment, the lighting, and the weather.
But we very quickly realized that we had to build a forest in a soundstage.
What are you doing?
Tony's making me do this. The set ended up being a combination of real trees and fake trees. I think there were about 60 trees in all, and 20 of them were fabricated. So as you guys can see, there's a backdrop behind. Oh, you can't really see it.
see it, which is good.
But you can see it right there. There's a backdrop with more trees on it. Yes.
It's been a lot.
We carried all of this in. Our entire studio smelled like a forest.
For months. When you think of The Wizard of Oz, one of the things you think of is the yellow brick road. So we laid down about 100 feet of yellow brick road in our studio.
Another thing you may think of when you think of The Wizard of Oz is poppies. And we counted, we used over 3,000 of them in our set. That's a lot. And that's why Joanne is out of business.
Don't say that.
We're dog people, so we like to bring our dogs to set. And Tony has a Karen Terrier, Toto. I mean, his real name is Fletcher.
So what would happen is we would be working and we would turn around and he would just be hanging out on the yellow brick road. When you have a song or a video project called Into the storm element is obviously a very large part of the narrative.
In addition to the lighting going from sunny to stormy, we also had the lightning element to figure out.
Each lightning strike had to be programmed so it would hit in the exact same spot, so when we would do take after take after take, there would be continuity in the lightning strikes as well.
We probably used about 20 different types of fans in order to get the amount of wind that we needed.
All of them were doing different things to move the wind at different velocities as well, because as the song progressed, the wind needed to get more intense. We knew that we weren't going to have a lot of time with Jessica.
So we decided to shoot the entire video with a stand-in.
So we're here with Anna Ricks, who is playing Theodora, again from Oz Great and Powerful, but she's standing in for Elphaba.
That is so we would have a good sense of what the camera was doing, how the lighting was going to change, what the blocking was going to be, so when we had her, it went as smoothly as possible.
I had no idea that I'd be getting back surgery after filming Into the Storm.
We got a phone call from her saying that she had injured her back pretty badly.
What happened is I was starring in a show called Beaches, and I had 20-something costume changes. And I happened to trip on one of my costumes, fall down a couple stairs, and I landed on my tailbone, but standing. I herniated a disc, I broke it. Because I'm an overachiever, it landed in my sciatic nerve. And so when I got back from Beaches, which is when we were all supposed to film this, I woke up one morning, I had an event at Carnegie Hall that night, and I couldn't get out of bed.
Lane and I both said to each other, and then to Jessica, we're not doing this project without you, so what can we do?
Thank God the two of you were so understanding. I finally go get an epidural, 2 epidurals. The doctor felt so bad for me, he's like, let's give her some more drugs. And hopefully, the disc will repair itself. Not me. So, after I got the epidural, I was then able to come down and shoot this with a back that was just crying for help, but we did it. We did it in a day, baby.
Costuming is really important because it's the visual representation of the story that you're trying to tell. When you're recreating a look or a costume that already exists, there can be challenges. The audience already knows what it's supposed to look like, so it's up to you as the costumer to deliver.
Many may not know this, but Tony makes all of the costumes for our videos.
It became apparent pretty early on that I was not going to be able to do all 6 of these looks in the time frame that we had. So I reached out to a friend of mine, Sean Ryan, who is an incredible costumer and designer, and just so happens to be a diehard Wicked fan.
The biggest challenge is the research. Most of it is like 80% research, 20% actually doing the costume. Susan and I sort of talked about the silhouette and how she sort of looks like this stalactite that's come up from the earth with the shape of her skirt and putting the hat on it. The silhouette is incredibly important. It's not just ruffle a skirt, it's making sure that the style lines and the silhouette, making it come to life exactly the way you see it on stage at the Gershwin is there.
Putting the green makeup on and the Act 2 dress, the costume, the hat. I hadn't been green since 2019. There's like a little bit of trauma associated with it, if you know, you know.
She's back in Act 2.
It's okay. And then you look at yourself, I know I didn't, I was like, you know what? This is my swan song. I never had that like cathartic moment of nice to see ya. And that was what it was. In an odd way, I didn't know that I was gonna have that feeling going into it.
The makeup, it definitely brings me into the character. I had a lot of fun with this role because I enjoy doing anything that's either silly or evil or, you know, just something a little more gritty and fun is what I like to do. And so once you get into that, you know, once they transform you into that character and you take a look in the mirror and you can't see yourself anymore, you just, you know, you become.
The makeup process completely changes who I am, so you can't see any part of Anna, and that's super cool. Have to figure out other ways to emote, which involves movement and my hands and my teeth and my eyes, because I literally can't move my face.
One of my favorite things to do is to disappear into a character. Sit there and have the makeup applied and kind of just envision and sit back and let that creation come over me. It's a whole, just a nice little shield, like a little cover. You know, people might call it a security blanket. But you can hide behind all those character isms, the hat, the wig, the dress. I'm really grateful to be in the lineup of this character arc and this story.
As a huge Oz fan, it was very special for me to get to be able to see Zelina on set. And Theodora. And of course, the 1939 Margaret Hamilton classic.
It's hard for me to remember another day on set where I've seen Tony that happy on set.
That was a very cool day. What The Wizard of Oz did in 1939, it didn't break the mold of what we think of as the Wicked Witch of the West. It created the mold of what a Wicked Witch looks, acts, and sounds like. Lane and I grew up in the 80s, and that was before the time of home media. So when you watched The Wizard of Oz, it was really an event.
Wizard of Oz, baby. It was Christmas as a little kid at my aunt's house watching Wizard of Oz. My brother was scared of all of the tornado, and I was like,
When I was like 12, I took a New York trip and we did the lottery, and I saw Wicked twice, and I was obsessed. That was my introduction to the Wizard of Oz in general.
If you were to ask me what character was the most terrifying for me as a child, it was absolutely the Wicked Witch of the West. And then as I got older, we started going out to Hollywood studios at Disney, and they had the Great Movie Ride, and she would appear in the ride, and I couldn't look at her.
I think both of our favorite character is the Wicked Witch of the West.
And I definitely remember watching it as a kid and thinking to myself, you know, the witch has a point. The shoes don't belong to Dorothy. They're really hers.
I think it's the first thing that she says is like, who killed my sister? She's like, what is wrong with you people?
When I used to watch it with my sisters, we always used to laugh when she would laugh because her laugh is just so infectious.
I think people go back to The Wizard of Oz because they see themselves in every character.
It's a universal story, such a human story. You need to go on a journey. You get swept away, you get lost. You need to have your friends. You need to figure out what that point is that you're aiming for and what's the end goal.
We all know what it's like to feel othered in some way. We all know what it's like to feel scared or not smart enough or not brave enough or not enough empathy. The ideals of the story are so simple and so profound. That's part of the reason that the story transcends generations.
So many people feel othered. If I can use my voice to make other people feel like it's okay to be who they are, that's why I do this job.
There's something in every single character that people can keep relating back to.
Every witch you see in this video is a piece of history, and this video is the evolution in motion.
Every good story needs a good villain.
They get to do and say the things that we wish we could.
For almost the last 100 years in cinema and TV, we've gotten to see such a diverse cast of who this character is and why they are the way they are.
And I think we're going to continue to see that character evolve because she is just so compelling.